After a billionaire's shocking insult, this waitress revealed her incredible strength. You won't believe what happened next. Sarah woke up that Friday morning before dawn, as she always did. The smell of warm muffins filled her tiny kitchen, a comforting aroma that tangled through the air, wrapping around her like a hug. But it wasn't merely the muffins that gave her strength. It was the faces of her 2 children, still sleeping, their small bodies cocooned in blankets, innocent and unaware of the gritty world outside. She was their world, and she took that responsibility to heart. When she arrived at Millie's diner, the buzz of laughter and clinking plates was her daily melody, a cacophony she had long since come to love. Smiling at her regulars, she poured coffee, added cream, and listened to the little stories woven into every order. Behind the counter, the waitress was not just a role. She was a lifeline, a confidant, a beacon of warmth in a bustling sea of faces. Little did she know that on this particular day, trouble was brewing beneath the surface. Then he walked in, Mr. Jennings, all sharp suit and sharper tongue. The other patrons hovered over their plates, but his anger sliced through the room like a knife. He bellowed about his wrong order, a simple mistake that escalated quickly. "This is what I get when I dine with the help," he snarled, glaring directly at Sarah. The stunned silence that followed was suffocating. Sarah stood frozen, her heart pounding, feeling the weight of his words land on her shoulders like stones. The diner held its breath. She felt their eyes, some shocked, some sympathetic, burden her as hot tears prickled the corners of her eyes. A mere servant? No, she was a mother, sacrificing everything for her kids. The shame of the moment hurt more than she cared to admit. With a shaky breath, she kept her composure, confident that tomorrow's muffins would soon fill up the air again. But what happened next rippled through the community like an earthquake. Sarah's story traveled, sparking intense discussions about dignity and worth on social media. People who had never noticed the waitress now rallied behind her, a grassroots wave swelling in a town often too busy to care. "Support local workers," the flyers read. And as they plastered the neighborhood, a rally was announced for next weekend outside Millie's. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The following days were tumultuous. Sarah fought against whispers while feeding her kids, struggling to hold back her own fear. They saw through her smile and she knew it. Yet, she found strength in their laughter and dreams, a reminder of what she was fighting for. As the day of the rally approached, her anxiety built. Yet so did the support of the community, their energy a rising tide lifting her spirit. Finally, the moment arrived. Standing on the makeshift podium outside Millie's, Sarah trembled with emotion as she faced the crowd and Mr. Jennings, who had shown up, eyes narrowed in disbelief. The whispers rose and fell around her, the murmurs electrifying the air. Then she spoke, her voice steady yet thick with emotion, revealing the truth that had long eluded her. "I am more than your waitress. I am a mother, a fighter, and I deserve respect." Each word echoed off the buildings. Anger, hope, and pride surged through her. The crowd held its breath. Would her fight be enough? Would she change a heart? Or at least spark a conversation about worth and dignity? The air was thick with anticipation, and as Sarah stood her ground, the fate of many hung in the balance. The crowd erupted into applause, the sound washing over Sarah like a warm tide. Each clap felt like a healing balm, soothing her frayed nerves and lifting her spirit. But among the cheers, she spotted Mr. Jennings, his expression darkening as he tried to shake off the unexpected wave of support surrounding her. What was he thinking? Did he really underestimate the power of the community gathered before him? With her heart racing, Sarah took a deep breath and steadied herself. The rally wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone who had ever felt small or disrespected. She scanned the faces in the crowd, fellow waitstaff, teachers, and even her neighbors whose names she knew but little about. In that moment they were all united, a tapestry of shared experiences and resilience. "Together we can show the world," she continued, her voice growing stronger, "that every job has value. that every person deserves to be treated with kindness. The crowd responded with cheers that echoed through the streets, fueling Sarah's determination. With every passionate word, she felt the power of change coursing through her veins. Yet her boldness didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Jennings stepped forward, his voice cutting through the applause. "Do you really think standing here makes you a leader?" he shouted, disdain dripping from his words. "You're just a waitress. Nothing more." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah felt her heart plummet. How could he twist her words, her fight, into something so base? It struck a nerve deep within her. Was that how he truly saw her? Just a cog in a machine, easily replaceable? With fire ignited in her chest, she responded, "And what's wrong with being a waitress? Every single person in this diner has a story, a life they're building. We deserve to be seen, to be recognized." Her words resounded with the memories of every shift she had worked, every struggle she had faced, and each moment she had spent juggling her children's needs with her own dreams. The crowd erupted again, and Sarah could feel the tide shifting. People were standing taller, faces alight with hope. Even those who had once been indifferent now rallied together, their resolve solidifying. It was as if a collective breath was held, waiting for Mr. Jennings' response. "Your little movement won't change anything," he retorted, desperately grasping for the upper hand, but his voice no longer held the weight it once did. The crowd began to chant, "Support local workers. Support local workers." The chant reverberated like thunder, shaking the very foundation of the diner and sending a shockwave of solidarity through the air. At that moment, Sarah realized this wasn't just about her fight anymore. This movement could change everything. She stumbled upon the realization of her own power, feeling herself rise with it. But there was still something unspoken, a deeper truth that she hadn't yet revealed. Just then, from the edge of the crowd, a familiar face emerged, a local reporter who had been following the story. "Sarah, can we get a quick interview? Your voice is inspiring." She hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. What would she say? Would she really share her true self, her struggles as a single mother? In that instant, she felt a wave of fear wash over her. What if her vulnerability made things worse? But looking into the faces of her supporters, she knew that this was the moment for honesty. This was more than about her. It was about everyone who ever felt voiceless. As the microphone was held before her, she took a deep breath, ready to bear more of her soul than she ever had before. "Thank you for that introduction," she began, her voice trembling slightly but steadying as she continued. "I'm not just a waitress. I'm a mother, a dreamer, and like many of you here today, someone who has fought hard for every little thing we have." The laughter and murmurs of agreement from her supporters wrapped around her like a warm hug. She glanced at the reporter, and for a moment uncertainty flickered in her eyes. But then she saw the little boy in the crowd, holding a sign that read, "We matter." That sign pulled her focus back to why she was standing there. "Every shift I've worked, every late night spent at home, I've done it for my children, to give them a life filled with hope." The crowd shifted, murmurs replaced by rapt silence. She took a breath, channeling all her energy into those words. "We work hard, and we deserve to be treated with respect. Like every single job out there, ours matters. It's time we showed the world our worth." As she spoke, Sarah felt the feelings bubble up, memories of her struggles, her fears about making ends meet, and the love she poured into her children. Her heart raced with the urgency to share. "I remember nights when I didn't know how I would afford the next meal, or the bills waiting for me. I felt small and invisible." A wave of empathy surged through the crowd. Heads nodded, fists clenched in solidarity. This wasn't just her story. It was theirs too. Seeing their encouragement lit a fire in her. "But I stand here before you, not just as a waitress but as a voice for the many who feel unheard." The energy shifted again as she embraced her truth. The crowd swelled with chants more powerful than before, resonating with her passion. "We deserve fair pay. We deserve dignity in our jobs. We will not be silenced." In that moment, she noticed a tear rolling down Mr. Jennings' cheek. It was unexpected and confusing, and for a moment, she wondered what might be shifting within him. Was he understanding? But then the emotions rushed back as she returned her focus to the crowd. Her heart soared as she scanned the faces, those filled with hope, anger, and understanding. Sarah was connecting deeply with them, each face reminding her of why she continued the fight. The happiness on her neighbor's face reminded her of the countless hours they had endured trying to make ends meet. As the adrenaline surged, Sarah felt her voice rising again. Let us build a community that doesn't just tolerate struggle, but uplifts everyone. We can create a movement that changes not just our lives, but generations to come. Just then Mr. Jennings stepped back, the remnants of his bravado cracking under the weight of Sarah's words. The crowd erupted in applause, chants of support rang louder, infused with hope and commitment. But as she finished her speech, anticipation hung in the air. Would the movement keep growing? Would the change she dreamed of finally come to life? And what would the powerful voices of others in the community unveil next? As she walked back into the crowd, arms outstretched, she heard someone yelling from behind. Sarah, they're going to want to hear your story at the town hall next week. That single announcement sent a jolt through her. Her heart pounded as she turned to face the crowd again. This was just the beginning. What would she say next? Would her voice reach even further? The murmur in the crowd began to swell, louder than before, like a powerful tide pushing forward. Sarah held her breath, feeling the charge of energy resonate from every corner of that gathering. People were hungry for change, and they were looking to her for guidance. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Next week, she thought, at the town hall her mind raced. What could she possibly say that would be worth their attention? What could she offer that would inspire not just the crowd, but also those in positions of power who could enact real change? With her heart pounding, Sarah stepped back into the stillness of her thoughts. She replayed Mr. Jennings' shocked face in her mind. Could an ordinary waitress like her make a billionaire notice the plight of those who felt invisible? She shook her head slightly, trying to dismiss the doubts that crept in. Focus, she whispered to herself. Let's keep this fire burning. A voice shouted from the back. Someone else joined in, we are the change. It was infectious, the power of unity. She couldn't just let that moment slip away. The next step was crucial. Not only for her but for the entire community that rallied behind her voice. Tightening her grip on the microphone, she let the warmth of the crowd fill her with courage. Change doesn't come from silence. It's time to share our stories. I want you all to think about your own experiences, the struggles that have shaped us. Our voices together can't be ignored. As the crowd erupted in cheers, Sarah felt a wave of relief mixed with determination. She closed her eyes for a moment and imagined what it would be like to stand at that town hall, speaking for everyone. The thought electrified her. Later that night, as she lay in bed, she struggled to sleep. The excitement kept her awake, thoughts racing. Her kids were at the forefront of her mind. They were her reason, her strength. She pictured their faces, their laughter. I want to give them the future they deserve. It was not just a fight for fair wages. It was about dignity, about acknowledging everyone's story. She realized she wasn't alone in this battle. The next morning, as she poured her coffee, the newspaper headline caught her eye. Billionaire calls for more support for service workers following viral speech. A knot tightened in her stomach. Could it be possible that her words had reached him? Sarah couldn't ignore the flicker of hope igniting within her. What if he was listening? What if this could bring about real change? Her heart raced with anticipation. She had to keep the momentum going, to push harder. Days flew by, and with each one Sarah planned and practiced. She took notes on what her community needed, compiling voices into one powerful message that resonated with her own. The support was overwhelming. People approached her, sharing their stories, their struggles, their victories. As the day of the town hall approached, she called a small gathering to prepare. In her dining room, she saw not just friends but allies. The first step was to practice their unified message, to remind each other of the strength that comes from community. Then came the day. Walking down the path to the town hall, she felt the weight of each step, the promise of the future mixed with potential fear. Looking up at the imposing building, she whispered, "This is it, Sarah. This is your moment." And just as she was about to step in, she caught sight of Mr. Jennings speaking to a group of reporters. The flicker of her heart quickened again. What if he was ready to support her cause? But could she trust him? Doubt slipped back in. With one last look in the mirror, she steadied herself. I'm here for them, and that's enough. As she walked through the doorway, uncertainty lingered, but so did resolve. With a deep breath, she stepped into the light. What awaited her inside would change everything. But would she be bold enough to embrace it? The room was vast and intimidating. Rows of chairs filled with anxious faces stared back at Sarah as she stepped into the town hall. The murmurs quieted, all eyes locking onto her. A sea of expectation washing over her. Sarah's heart raced. A mix of fear and excitement twisted inside her like lightning. She'd never been up on a stage before, never had this kind of attention directed at her. Was she really ready for this? Each thought felt like a stone in her stomach. But then she thought of her children, their hopeful faces. She swallowed hard, clutching her notes tightly. At the front of the room, a long table was set up for the council members, their expressions shifting from skeptical to curious as they caught sight of her. Mr. Jennings was among them, but today he was just one of many. She could feel him watching intently. "Good evening, everyone," Sarah started, her voice wavering. It felt like the floor had dropped out beneath her. But she took a deep breath, remembering the warmth of the crowd from before. "I'm here to talk about something that affects us all: worker rights, dignity, and the power of our stories." She met the eyes of the community members seated in the first row. Each face reflected a different struggle, a different story. Suddenly, the fear began to melt away. Their stories fueled her passion. "We've been silenced for too long," she continued. "But our voices can't be ignored any longer." A swell of courage washed over her, and she began to share stories, weaving the struggles of her community into a tapestry that showed their resilience and unity. "We may not have big titles, but we have something even more powerful: our shared experiences. Each of you has a story worth telling, a story that can spark change." Louder cheers erupted from the crowd, and Sarah felt an electric connection coursing through her. She looked back at Mr. Jennings, hoping to see support. Instead, his brow was furrowed. Had she said something wrong? A chill crept in at that moment, but she pushed it down. She was no longer afraid of his judgment. "Imagine what we could accomplish together," she pressed on. "Imagine a future where every worker is treated with respect and dignity. We won't just be seen as the help, but as the backbone of this community." With every word, she felt stronger, her conviction resonating like a drum in the air. She could almost hear her children cheering her on. "Let us turn this moment into a movement," she said, raising her voice. "We deserve more respect, more rights, and more opportunities." As she concluded, the room erupted into applause. It was deafening, a testament to her words. Sarah stood there, her breathless exhilaration mingling with disbelief. She had actually done it. But as she soaked in the moment, she saw Mr. Jennings standing and signaling for silence. The room hushed. The weight of anticipation thickened the air. He stared straight at her, his expression unreadable. "What you've presented today is compelling," he began. "But I have some conditions." Uncertainty washed over Sarah again, a new tingling discomfort creeping back in. Had her moment of triumph just turned into a negotiation? The applause faded, and all eyes turned toward the man who held unyielding power. What does he want? Her heart pounded even harder, anxious and ready. Would she be able to stand firm? Would she lose everything she had fought for? She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. The future seemed to hang in the balance, and in that instant, Sarah knew she was on the brink of a decision that could change everything. Would she take the leap? The silence was suffocating. Sarah's heart raced as Mr. Jennings cleared his throat, his eyes piercing through the room like searchlights. "While I appreciate your passion," he said, his voice booming, "you need to understand that real change comes with compromise." The word compromise sat heavily in the air. Sarah felt a knot in her stomach. What was he about to propose? "What conditions?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with tension. "What do you want in return for your support?" A thin smile formed on Jennings's lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I want you to tone down the rhetoric. People are more likely to listen if you don't speak in absolutes. We need to build bridges, not walls." His words sent a chill through the crowd. Murmurs rippled like a wave, the atmosphere shifting from hopeful to uneasy. Sarah's mind raced. Toneless speeches? Devoid of passion? "I'm sorry, but if we soften our message, we risk losing everything we've fought for," she countered, her voice rising again. "Our lives, our dignity, they aren't up for negotiation." People around her started nodding, a ripple of agreement running through the crowd. She wanted to reclaim her momentum. This isn't just about getting people to listen. It's about standing up for what's right. Jennings's face hardened, and Sarah noticed a few council members exchanging glances. "You're crossing a line," he said, his tone cold. "You'll lose your chance for change if you don't play the game." She took a deep breath, emotions swirling within her. Was he saying she had to abandon her truth to find a way forward? A familiar voice in her head cautioned her, wasn't this exactly the kind of compromise that had left the working class powerless for so long? "No," she replied, feeling a fire ignite within her. "I refuse to negotiate our worth for the sake of appeasing your comfort. This is about bringing justice to those who have suffered, not about softening talking points." The crowd erupted into applause again, a moment of unity that felt electric. Sarah felt emboldened. With every clapping hand, her spirit lifted higher. She glanced around, meeting the eyes of her neighbors, her friends, the very people she fought for. They believed in her, and she couldn't let them down. "Mr. Jennings," she continued, locking eyes with him, "you may hold power now, but true power comes from the ground up, from people who refuse to be silenced. If you're willing to engage in that conversation, then we can talk. But if not, you'll find there's a storm gathering here." Jennings's expression flickered, a hint of irritation as he leaned back in his chair, arms crossed defiantly. "You've got guts, Sarah. But don't think that makes you invincible. If you push too hard, you'll be the one making sacrifices." "That's a risk I'm willing to take," she said, feeling a surge of determination. Introducing doubt in his expression, Mr. Jennings hesitated. The council members looked to him like puppets waiting for strings to be pulled. Would they follow his lead? Or could Sarah rally them around her message? "Let us take a break," Jennings finally uttered, his voice wavering slightly as he stood up. The tension hung thick as he walked away. Sarah's heart pounded. Her words had struck a nerve, but now doubt mingled with victory. The crowd dispersed but stayed close, whispering anxiously in groups, their faces a blend of hope and uncertainty. Sarah felt the weight of their gazes and knew she had to keep inspiring them. Would they rally around her vision of a brighter, more equitable future? "How will we reach them?" someone asked, looking at Sarah with wide eyes. That question hung as her mind raced forward. She needed a plan, something bold that could unite them all, something they hadn't tried before. Standing there, she prepared to lead. But the road ahead was more uncertain than she ever expected. Would she bring them together? Or would this moment of hope slip through her fingers? As she gazed at the crowd, a new determination rose within her. She would find a way, no matter the cost. But how? What was the next step in this fragile journey towards justice? The room hummed with the restless energy of a crowd on the brink. Sarah stood at the front, their faces blurring into a mosaic of uncertainty and yearning. She felt their hope like an ember in her chest. But what now? How could she turn their murmurs into a roar? Swallowing her doubts, she raised her hands. "Everyone," she called, her voice cutting through the chatter. "We can't let this moment pass us by. We need to come together, to show them that our determination is unbreakable." A wave of nods rippled through the audience. Encouraged, she continued, "Rather than just confronting Jennings, what if we gather our stories? Let us share how this fight impacts our lives. We can bring real faces to this issue. We can tell them who we really are." "What do you mean?" A voice chimed from the back. It came from Lucas, a man whose family had struggled for years just to stay afloat. His eyes searched hers, looking for a plan. Sarah smiled, feeling a spark of inspiration. "If we compile our experiences, our struggles, our victories, our dreams, we can publish them. A zine or a newsletter. Something that carries our voices, our truths, right into the council's hands. We won't be silenced. We'll become the narrative." Bold murmurs spread, and she could see the gears turning in their minds. Would it resonate? Kara, a single mother in the front row, spoke up. "What if we hand out copies? We could reach people in the community, get them on our side too." "Exactly," Sarah exclaimed, feeling the momentum building. "We can create a movement from the ground up, one that can't be ignored. It's our time to shine." The energy shifted, no longer just a crowd, but a community rallying behind a cause. Each proposal ignited new ideas, a fire igniting in their hearts. Some were sketching out designs, others scribbling down their stories. The sound of laughter and determination mingled, weaving a fabric of solidarity. Let us meet tomorrow. Someone called out, enthusiasm bubbling in his voice. We'll organize our stories, draft our message together. Yes, Sarah said, feeling buoyed by their eagerness. And let us spread the word. Go out and gather more voices. We need everyone to feel a part of this. Every story counts. As people started moving, she felt a touch of fear. What if this wouldn't be enough? But she quickly brushed it aside. Fear was a chain. She had no intention of being bound by it. Each step they took together filled her with renewed courage. Suddenly, her phone buzzed wildly in her pocket, startling her. She pulled it out to see an email pop up, an unexpected message from an old acquaintance. The subject line read, I heard about what happened. Her heart raced. It was from someone who had left for a bigger city, someone in media. The email hinted at a connection she hadn't considered: help, exposure, a platform. As she looked up at her friends, laughter and chatter echoing around her, something clicked. They would bring their stories to light, but could they even dream of reaching further? Do you all want to help me reach out to the press? She asked, holding her breath, unsure of their response. The rumble of excitement hesitated. A moment of stillness enveloping the room. Would they take that leap? A hand shot up Kara's again, a fierce glint in her eyes. I'll help. Let us get our stories out there. One step at a time, right? Lucas grinned. Let us stir the pot. Yes. Sarah felt the swell of determination lift her higher. Let us make sure they know who we are. And if they don't listen, then we'll make them. As they began to devise a plan, Sarah's heart soared with hope. But even as excitement thrummed in the air, a chill whispered in her mind, a reminder of what was at stake. They were pushing boundaries, but would they face the backlash? Each step forward could bring them deeper into danger. Could they handle that? Would their resolve stand strong against the oncoming storm? Sarah could only wait and wonder, bracing for what was to come. The next morning, sunlight streamed through Sarah's window, warming her face. She stretched, still buzzing from last night's meeting. The world outside hummed with energy, but inside her doubt simmered. Would they really go through with it? The plan felt monumental, like a mountain they were all about to climb together. She quickly dressed, slipping on her favorite blue sweater. It had once belonged to her grandmother, a reminder of strength and resilience. With renewed determination, she headed to the cafe where the group had agreed to gather. As she walked, each step felt heavier, the weight of expectation hanging in the air. Would they rally? Would they remember the fire they felt together? When she entered the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee mingled with the chatter of early risers. She spotted Lucas already sitting at a table, sketching designs on napkins with quick strokes. Kara joined moments later, juggling 2 cups of coffee while her son, Leo, trailed closely behind. Hey you guys. Sarah greeted, feeling a little more grounded. What's the plan? Kara set down the cups. We're brainstorming ideas for our zine. I've got a few stories started. She leaned over to show Sarah her notes, each story echoing struggle, tenacity, and heart. That's perfect, she said, her spirits beginning to lift. Leo, with his wild curls and innocent smile, looked up at Sarah. Can I help too? Of course. Everyone's story matters, she replied, feeling warmth spread through her chest. In that moment, a wave of voices and laughter washed over her worries. They weren't just a few scattered dreams. They were a community on the brink of something powerful. Hours passed as they pored over ideas, sharing laughter and tears while crafting narratives that wove their lives together. Sarah felt their resolve strengthen as each page took shape, personal histories emerging like shooting stars in a dark sky. But amidst their creativity, concern lingered. The pressure of exposing their struggles gnawed at her. Okay, let us talk about reaching out to the press, she said eventually, her voice steady but her heart racing. Everyone listened as she outlined a strategy to approach local media. I can put together a press kit with our stories, Lucas suggested, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. As they discussed logistics and potential contacts, Sarah's phone buzzed again. A notification popped up, a reminder of the email from her media acquaintance. She hesitated, wondering if now was the right time to reveal it. Guys, something just crossed my mind. I received an email from an old friend in media. She's offered to help us get our story out, Sarah said, watching their expressions shift from confusion to hope. Wait, really? Kara asked, sitting a bit straighter. That's incredible. But there's more. It could mean being under a microscope. Are we ready for that? A nervous flutter danced in her stomach. Lucas leaned forward, brows furrowed. Isn't this what we've been working toward? If we want to be heard, we have to take that risk. Their agreement settled like a blanket over her heart. You're right. We can't back down now, she affirmed. Let us reach out then. Let us show them who we are. Kara's voice was strong, vibrant. Just as they were about to dive into the details, the cafe door swung open abruptly. A group of well-dressed strangers entered, their laughter echoing. One of them, a tall man with a sharp suit, caught sight of Sarah and her friends. As he walked past, she felt his gaze linger, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. Something inside Sarah snapped. She stood up, heart pounding defiantly. This is our space too, she shouted, drawing everyone's attention, even those strangers. Whispers rippled across the room, the air shifting thick with tension. Was this man someone connected to Jennings? Did he even realize the determination brimming in this little corner of the cafe? Sarah wondered if her declaration would spark something greater, or push them into a confrontation they weren't ready for. Could they withstand the scrutiny? Would they rise together, or would this moment shatter their momentum? She held her breath, bracing for whatever response awaited them. The silence hung heavy as Sarah's proclamation echoed in the cafe. The group of well-dressed strangers paused, disbelief flickering across their faces. The tall man with the confident stride raised an eyebrow, his smirk wavering, replaced by a scrutinizing gaze. "Excuse me?" he said, tilting his head slightly, as if her words held some absurdity he couldn't quite grasp. Kara nudged Sarah gently, an unspoken plea dancing in her eyes, but Sarah didn't back down. She felt the warmth of her community surrounding her, their encouragement wrapping around her like a security blanket. "This is our gathering place. We're working on something important here," she responded, her voice steadier than she felt. "We're sharing our stories, our truths." The room held its breath, and for a moment, Sarah feared she had made a colossal mistake. But then Lucas leaned in beside her. "Yeah, we're tired of being overlooked. We matter." His words rippled through the cafe, drawing a few more eyes, and even Kara chimed in with fierce support. "It's not just a project. It's about our lives." The man's expression hardened, but Sarah noticed a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. Perhaps, just perhaps, they had unsettled him. The tension thickened as the strangers huddled together, exchanging whispers. Sarah's heart raced. Did they really see her? Or were they merely judging the authenticity of their intent, ready to dismiss them? Finally, the tall man shrugged nonchalantly. "Fine," he said, a smirk creeping back onto his lips, "but don't expect anyone to listen. Maybe you should stick to your little cafe." His words dripped with condescension, causing a wave of heat to rise in Sarah's cheeks. But the sting of his insult only seemed to ignite something within her. "We might be in a cafe, but our voices will be heard. We'll show you," she called out, her voice steadying, her purpose growing clearer. His laughter echoed around them, but that only solidified Sarah's resolve. As they turned to leave, she exchanged determined glances with her friends. They had been shaken, yes, but now they were further fueled. "Let us do this," Lucas said softly, eyes bright with determination. "I know we can't let this stop us." "We'll make them listen," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with renewed purpose. They gathered their notes, fueled with a mix of frustration and fire. As the group walked out of the cafe, the bustling sounds of the city enveloped them. Those four walls had become their safe haven, but now they were ready to take their voices into the real world. "What's next, Sarah?" Kara asked, her enthusiasm infectious. Sarah paused, taking a deep breath. "We keep reaching out. We work on the press kit. We're not just telling our stories, we're creating a movement." As they walked, her mind raced with ideas. This was not just about them anymore, it was about everyone who felt small, overlooked. "We need a launch date. Something that marks the beginning. A push. Maybe we should host an event?" Leo suggested, eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yes, an open mic for anyone who wants to share," Kara added, bouncing on her toes. Sarah felt her heart echo their energy. They could turn that insult into their rallying cry. They would carve out a space for authentic voices and allow everyone to be part of their zine. She pictured the event: laughter, stories, moments of vulnerability. Let us do it. Let us make our stories matter, she declared, the weight on her shoulders lifting with every firm step they took toward their future. But as they brainstormed details for the event, Sarah received yet another message on her phone, a reminder of a press deadline looming closer. Time was not on their side. Would they be ready to put everything on the line? Just as optimism surged, uncertainty crept back in. Could they truly share their hearts, their lives with the world waiting just outside? Are we all in? She asked, her voice laced with urgency and hope. They looked at each other, the light of determination flaring in their eyes as they leaned in closer, ready to take the leap into something greater. The question lingered. What would happen when they finally placed their stories into the world's hands? The day had finally arrived. The sun peeked through the clouds, wrapping Millie's diner in a warm glow as Sarah set up for the open mic event. Each table was adorned with simple decorations, handmade signs reading "Everyone's story matters." The chatter grew louder as community members filed in, brimming with anticipation. It felt like a gathering of warriors, united for a common cause. Sarah stood behind a small podium, her heart racing. This was more than just an event. It was a declaration of identity, a celebration of voices that too often went unheard. As she looked around the diner filled with familiar faces, a swell of pride filled her chest. They shared a bond lives woven together through struggle, resilience, and hope. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice shaking slightly with emotion. Today isn't just about me or my story. It's about each of you, every waitstaff, every parent, every person fighting to be seen and respected. We're here to lift each other up. A round of applause erupted, and she felt reinvigorated. As she introduced the first speaker, a young waitress named Jana, Sarah caught sight of Mr. Jennings at the back of the room, his arms crossed and face inscrutable. Yet she felt a spark of courage, knowing they had come too far to be intimidated. Jana stepped up, nervous at first but then pouring her heart out openly. One by one stories spilled forth, each gripping tale shared raw and vulnerable, igniting flames of empathy among the crowd. There were laughs, tears, and moments of profound connection as faces lit up with recognition. Sarah could feel the power in each voice. They were no longer alone. By the time the event reached its peak, nerves had transformed into a comforting energy that enveloped everyone. The stories resonated deeply with one another, igniting shared experiences of struggle and triumph. Sarah was overwhelmed by the strength that flowed through the room. Together they created something beautiful. But as the evening rolled on, Jennings stood up, brandishing the remnants of his smugness. You honestly think shouting your stories is enough to change anything? He interrupted. The diner fell silent, tension crackling in the air. Sarah's heart raced as she stepped forward undeterred. No, it's not just about shouting. It's about conversation, about connection. You think our lives are insignificant, but they matter. We're showing you and everyone else that we refuse to stay quiet. The crowd erupted in support, clapping and chanting, and Jennings shifted uncomfortably, the smirk slowly fading. This wasn't just a gathering anymore. It was a movement, one that was threatening his comfort zone. With newfound determination, Sarah continued, we won't let our voices be diminished. We're demanding to be treated with dignity. We're not just workers. We are human beings with stories that matter. The words echoed through the diner, igniting the fire of change. Then a wave of silence washed over everyone as she heard a familiar voice rise from the back. It was Lucas. We want change, Jennings. His passion echoed in the diner. But real change comes from understanding. If you're truly here to help, let us talk honestly, openly. Join us in this fight instead of belittling it. Their words hung in the air, a challenge for Jennings. As the crowd cheered with renewed vigor, Sarah felt a mixture of hope and defiance welling up inside her. Would this truly resonate with a man who had initially dismissed them? Fine, Jennings finally spoke, drawing a breath. I'll listen, but those stories need to reach the top. These words better bring change if you want me on your side. The audience was quiet, stunned. Could this be? Sarah stepped forward, confidence radiating from her. If you're willing to listen, let us help each other. We can create real change together. But it starts with respect, treating every worker with the dignity they deserve. The air filled with applause, echoing through the diner in waves. Sarah realized they were no longer afraid to stand up. They were engaged in a fight that demanded to be heard. Jennings' presence no longer felt like an intrusion. It began to feel like a chance for reconciliation, a bridge that could be built if he was willing. As the night wore on, plans for the future emerged. They would take their stories even further, compiling them into a united message that couldn't be ignored. The sense of solidarity in the room electrified the air. But the real battle lay ahead. They needed to keep the momentum going, press on with their mission, and continue forging connections that broke barriers. Sarah looked around at the faces filled with hope, realizing they were all hungry for change. That was the moment of realization. Their stories would resonate. Their voices would create ripples, and together, they could turn the tide. Out of that diner they would shine, and no one could take that away from them. As the open mic wrapped up, smiles filled the room. Each story shared was a testament to the strength they embodied. They would carry those stories out into the world, amplifying their impact beyond the four walls of Millie's. And when it was over, as the heartfelt energy lingered in the air, Sarah knew they'd begun a movement that could change everything. As they stepped outside into the night, Sarah turned to her friends, her heart swelling with confidence. "This is just the beginning," she declared, a radiant smile lighting her face. "Let us keep pushing until our voices are heard." In the warmth of their unity, they felt unstoppable. This fight was theirs, and there was no turning back now. And in that moment, Sarah knew they were ready to face the world not as individuals, but as a powerful collective determined to share their truth and transform their reality. Change was within their grasp. If you believe in the power of stories to change lives, now is the time to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second to share.